The detached soles of my work shoes were blistering my feet. The mask I'm wearing catches the warmth of my own breath. I worked 40 minutes off the clock. Gus threw up and had to leave early. I'm so tired and bored. The funny thing about the city is how quiet it is. There's no chatter, hardly any stragglers, just momentary, complete silence. I crossed my legs and opened my phone. I texted my roommate I'll be home in 20 minutes. I don't know why I did it. He's definitely not awake by now. I sit on the cold, hard concrete and stare. I can see my breath in the air. I bury my fingers deep into my own sleeves. It's so cold. I'm too tired to think. There's a screeching, piercing noise. I walk through the streetcar doors. The cart is crowded with noise. I sit and stare out the window covered in water stains and smudges. My seat is sticky. There's 2 people on this cart. One smells the Swisher Sweets and kept muttering to himself about the holes in his jacket. The other one was so drunk he could barely stand up. Times like these you regret moving to the city. 400,000 people and not one seems to want to give you or anyone else attention. It's hard to describe the feeling of being part of a collective that all simultaneously decided to be isolated from wider society. People don't smile like they used to. Hardly anyone leaves the door open for you anymore. Everyone's in arm's reach, but they're covered in a self-defensive lubricant. I'm going home and I'm going to smoke until I pass out. I get off at my stop, Union Station. I can't explain why, but I walked past my apartment. I thought to turn back, but I didn't. I kept on walking. Walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. Even though my feet were blistered, even though I was exhausted, even though I stunk of slimy chicken, I just kept walking aimlessly. I get to Memorial Park and my feet leave the paved sidewalk and onto the patchy grass. The dew squeaks against my feet. I see the lights buzzing and flashing in and out, sticking out of the ground like arms reaching to the sky. If it weren't for the fact it was so cold, I'd already be passed out onto the hard, crisp concrete. My jeans cling to my legs like saran wrap. I climbed those smooth, chiseled steps and saw the giant phallic structure shooting into the sky. I step into the beams and I stare out. A man in a button-down shirt 2 sizes too big plants his body near mine. He flips out a cigarette case and pulls out a Winston Gold. He pulls out a Home Sweet Home Wizard of Oz Bic lighter and takes a puff as the orange light illuminates his face.
Smoking my lucky.
I ask what that means.
Whenever I buy a pack of cigarettes, I flip one of the cigarettes in the box and leave it alone until it's the last cigarette in the pack. Then I smoke it. Once it's finished, I can't take another puff of it. That'll bring some good luck in my life, big or small.
The lights outlining every building etches into the night sky like holes through a black blanket.
Do you feel lucky?
I turned towards him and shrugged.
Do you feel unlucky?
I shrugged again. He takes a long drag off his cigarette and blows it completely out of his lungs. His finger shoots into the distance.
When you look at that building, what do you see?
I see the Western Auto logo.
No. Describe what you see.
Look, can you just stop this? I'm not in the mood for whatever you're getting at. He takes another drag off his cigarette and places his hand on the headrest, puffing the smoke through his teeth.
I get it. You look tired and you only want your company. Could you at least let me finish what I'm saying? Give me until the cigarette's finished. Once I take my last puff, I'll be on my way. Can we do that?
I nod my head.
When I ask people what they see, most of them give me the same answer you gave me. They just see a building, giving it no thought as it blends into all the other buildings. This city's nothing but a backdrop in their lives, blending in, giving no second thought. Background detail. I find it interesting. There's skyscrapers that soar in the sky and we don't give it a second glance. For a long time, I used to give that answer too. Just a building lost in the sea of other buildings. It was what I told myself before I was going to leap off this ledge. I was ready. I mean, really ready. I was ready to take that plunge and plant myself into the ground below. I closed my eyes as I clutched the pocket where I was keeping my death note. Before I lunged, I hiccuped, causing my eyes to fling open. My eyes fixated on an apartment window of 2 people in their apartment far away watching television. They weren't talking or reacting much at all. They were just curled up on a fuzzy couch watching the blue box. I just watched them, lost track of time. They seemed too relaxed. My eyes then drifted 2 floors below. I saw a man doing sets at his home workout station. He looked tired, determined, and strained. My eyes then wandered to the street, locking on a woman reading a magazine. Couldn't tell you what it was, but it was green. Then I looked at all the different cars that drove by. A Pontiac, a Volkswagen, a PT Cruiser, a blue Chevy, a Kia. Then my eyes dangled to the different lights in the Western Auto logo. I started counting as many industrial bulbs I could in my own brain before I started looking at how many windows the Union Station had, before thinking about how many bricks were used in the Crossroads districts, natural architecture, brick by brick. I ended up spending 3 hours there, just staring at all these little details, these extra strokes, the final touches. It never hit me how huge this world was. All at once, I want to take in as much detail as possible. Potentially at first to lock in that final memory I'm supposed to. But ended up enlisting this excitement in me for the world I once saw as empty and dull. I begun to think about how every brick laid for all these buildings, how much manpower went to laying them. Who were the men that laid those bricks? And who was their boss? How long did it take them? How many pairs of legs have used that sidewalk? What were their stories? What were their lives like? What brought them to walking the paths they did? It hit me at that moment that everything, every little thing, is here for a reason. We're not small blips in this world. There are thousands upon thousands of tinier, more insignificant blips that we don't see every day. There's millions of even tinier, more insignificant blips, and so on and so forth. There's so much that goes into things we don't even give the time of day to think about. We turn our attention to a select few of blips and make them our whole lives, hoarding them to ourselves with a death grip on the tassels and fear of getting thrown out. We forget that there's such a wide world filled with millions of these blips for everyone walking these streets, living in their homes, doing their jobs. Everyone has their own stories filled with intense, love-shattering heartbreak, excitement, fear, joy, sadness, pain, and healing. Every emotion is being felt at all times. There's so many people to meet and things to see. I'm a small blip, but there's so much to discover in this massive, colorful sea of blips. Something about that was enough for me to pull myself back from the ledge. For once in my life, I could just see the full picture of things.
He finishes his cigarette and he walks away.